Hi everyone! Today I'm going to share 6 different Japanese dinner sets that I made. Each set is a complete meal, so I hope you can find your favorite main dish, side, and soup. Let's start by making a chahan teishoku. In Japan, we call a set meal a teishoku. Chahan is fried rice. Today I'm going to make the perfect soup to go with fried rice. It's super easy, trust me! And a classic Japanese side dish, harusame salad. First, let's prep the cucumber for the salad. I usually do this to remove the seeds, so the salad doesn't get watery. Let's shred it. Next, we'll cook the glass noodles. These are made from starch extracted from mung beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, or corn. This particular one is Japanese and made from potato and sweet potato. Glass noodles are quite common in Japan, and this salad is one of the most popular ways to eat them. My husband loves it so much, and I make it about once a week. Let's cook the glass noodles for about 4 minutes, stirring occasionally. Once they are cooked, rinse them with cold water. For this dish, you need a thin omelette. I like to add just a little bit of sugar. I make these every time I make cold ramen noodles, hiyashichuka too. I used to struggle to make them thin, but now I can make them really thin, and my husband always praises me for it. The secret is to heat the oil really well before adding the egg. And to make about 2 omelets from 1 egg. After cooling the omelette slightly, let's shred it. It's really thin, so it should mix well with the noodles. Since the noodles are a bit long, let's cut them. While the omelette is still a bit warm, let's chill it on an ice pack and prep the crab sticks. Add the shredded cucumber and glass noodles to a bowl and break the crab sticks into pieces. Once the omelette is cool, add it to the bowl and let's season it. It's better to mix everything a little before adding the seasonings. Let's add rice vinegar, soy sauce, sesame oil, sugar, and stock powder. I use this stock powder called shantan, but you can use chicken stock powder or whatever you like. Add some sesame seeds if you want. Mix everything well and taste it. If it's too bland, add more soy sauce or salt and pepper. It's best to refrigerate it before serving. Next, let's make the perfect soup to go with fried rice. In a pot, add water, soy sauce, oil, any oil will do. I used 2 kinds of sesame oil, oyster sauce, stock powder, MSG, and white pepper. Just bring it to a boil and mix it. When you order fried rice at a Japanese restaurant, it usually comes with a simple soup with no ingredients or just a little green onion. This soup has a similar flavor to ramen broth. My husband always asks for a soup like this when he eats fried rice. This recipe is pretty close and he loves it. I bought these shrimp wontons from the supermarket today, so I want to fry them until they are crispy. Some people add them to the soup, but I prefer to fry them and enjoy them crispy. They are thin, so they cook really quickly. They are also great with beer. Finally, let's make the fried rice. The ingredients are super simple: eggs, ham, and green onion. I forgot to buy green onions at the supermarket, so I got these pre-cut ones from the convenience store. I'll use a little less of the oil I used to fry the shrimp wonton for the fried rice. Using a bit more oil when making fried rice makes it taste delicious and restaurant style. Heat the oil well and add the egg. Immediately add the warm rice and mix it with the spatula. Coat the rice with the egg. By the way, I used about 170 grams of rice for one serving, and one egg is just right for that amount. Add the green onion and ham and stir fry. You can actually just use rice and eggs if you want. For seasoning, I use salt, pepper, MSG, and white pepper. Many Japanese people add a little soy sauce when making fried rice, but actually, making it this way without soy sauce is closer to the taste of restaurant-style fried rice. If you have a kitchen torch, you can toast the surface for a more authentic flavor. Just before serving, heat the soup. Add the green onion and heat it for about 30 seconds. And there you have it, a complete fried rice set. My husband was so happy with this dinner. It's all his favorites. Alright, let's move on to the next dinner set, Kabocha croquettes. I found this amazing kabocha at the supermarket. Even though summer isn't quite over yet, I decided to make these. I have recently been able to choose a kabocha that tastes good. The ones with deep colors are usually the tastiest. The lighter ones tend to be watery and bland, and sometimes even a bit bitter. And the good kabocha are always really hard. After cutting the kabocha into small pieces, chop the onion, Next, this pork is also chopped. I usually use ground meat, but I had some leftover pork fillet in the freezer, so I'm going to chop that up. I've never chopped pork fillet like this before, but it was so much easier to mince when it wasn't fully thawed. It was actually kind of fun. And it's a lot lower in fat than buying ground meat. I definitely recommend using ground meat though. It makes everything so juicy and delicious. You can use pork, chicken, or beef for this recipe. Let's boil the kabocha in the pot until it's soft. In the meantime, let's fry the onion and meat. Fry the onion in a little oil until it's soft. Then make some space in the pan and add the pork. Season with a little salt and pepper and mix it together. By the way, even though we are making kabocha croquette today, you can totally use potatoes instead of kabocha. Once the pork changes color, add the onion and the rest of the seasonings. I'm adding sake, soy sauce, sugar, stock butter, and coarsely ground black pepper. My husband likes to add a lot of coarsely ground black pepper when making croquettes. We do the same when we make them with potatoes. It's really delicious. Fry everything until the liquid has evaporated. I might have overcooked the kabocha a bit, and I think I could have used less water. I usually microwave kabocha without adding any water, but I boiled it today. I think less water might help preserve more vitamins. Drain the water and mash the kabocha with a fork. It's so much softer and easier to mash compared to microwaving. Add a little butter and mix it in. Then add the fried meat mixture and mix it well. It's so delicious even before shaping it into croquette. I could just eat it like a meat salad. For the soup today, I'm making miso soup. Eggplant is a quintessential summer vegetable in Japan. My husband loves eggplant miso soup that's super tender, so that's what I'm making today. I've noticed recently that some eggplants have tough skin or something because it's hard to cut them with a knife. This eggplant was really difficult to cut, or maybe my knife just needs shaping. Adding fried tofu or regular tofu would make the soup even more nutritious, but I'm feeling lazy today, so I'm just using vegetables. Adding onion makes the miso soup really sweet, so I've added some. Just boil everything with water until it's soft. Once it boils, reduce the heat and simmer until the eggplant is super tender. Now let's fry the croquette. I prepared panko and butter. The butter is just a 1-to-1 mixture of flour and water. When making croquettes, it can be difficult to shape them if the kabocha is too watery. So if the mixture is too wet, you can add some panko or some mashed potato to the kabocha mixture. The kabocha and meat inside are already cooked, so you just need to cook the butter and panko on the surface. I'm trying to save oil, so it's a bit tricky to fry the sides properly. But I managed to do it by moving them around with tongs. Once the panko is golden brown, they are done. Check that the eggplant is tender and add the miso. Add the miso after turning off the heat. I'm using miso with dashi stock. Shredded cabbage is a classic side dish for croquette. These croquettes turned out amazing. They are great with rice and they would also be delicious in a sandwich. Enjoy them with tonkatsu sauce. Next up, we are making a dinner set with Addictive chicken gobo stir fry as the main dish. I'm also making a super easy and delicious egg soup and a unique Japanese style pickle or salad. Let's just call it a quick pickle. I made this quick pickle for the first time today and it was so much better than I expected. I'm definitely making it again. First, let's boil the okra. To remove the tiny hairs on the okra, rub it lightly with salt. You don't have to do this, but it's a pretty common step in Japan. Boil it for 1.5 minutes. Drain it and let it cool. Now let's prepare the pickling liquid. In a container, add dashi powder, mirin, soy sauce, water, rice vinegar, and sesame oil. Mix well to dissolve the dashi powder. Add a peeled cherry tomatoes. And then add a cooked okra, cut into your preferred size. Make sure you peel the cherry tomatoes, otherwise the flavor won't seep in. I have some leftover cherry tomatoes in the fridge, so I wanted to use them for something. And that's how I came up with this recipe. And since I happen to have some leftover okra, I added that too. These two ingredients go amazingly well with this liquid. It's like a whole new kind of salad. Refrigerate it for about 30 minutes so the flavor can melt together. The vegetables are sticking out a bit, so I stirred it halfway through to make sure everything was submerged in the liquid. Now let's make the stir fry. We'll be using broccoli and gobo. You can skip the gobo if you don't have any. I wanted to use lotus root, but I'll add that when I can find some good ones in the fall. Coat the gobo in potato starch. Let's fry these. Gobo is a very tough vegetable, so frying it makes it easier to eat and much tastier. It's also great for stewed and soups. Since they are not very thick, I think frying them for about 1.5 minutes on each side is enough. It already smells so good, I could just eat them with salt. Now let's prep the chicken. Cut into bite-sized pieces. Season with salt and pepper. And coat it in potato starch. Try to coat it as thinly as possible. Coat the remaining broccoli in potato starch too. Heat plenty of oil in a fry pan and fry the chicken. I think I used too little oil, but since I wanted to save oil, I added the broccoli to the pan with the chicken. You could also fry the broccoli separately in plenty of oil. I took the chicken out of the pan once it was cooked to prevent it from getting tough. Once the broccoli is cooked, return the chicken and gobo to the pan. And season it with mirin, soy sauce, oyster sauce, and sugar. This seasoning is so addictive, you have to try it. Finally, let's make the egg soup. This is super quick to make. Add water, soy sauce, and stock powder to a pot. And bring it to a boil. Add dried wakame seaweed. You can skip this if you don't have any. Boil it for a minute and bring it to a boil again. Add the beaten egg and mix gently. The egg is beautifully fluffy. Turn off the heat once the egg is cooked. Add a little sesame oil for extra flavor. Once you've plated everything, it's done. The cherry tomatoes and okra had plenty of time to soak up their flavors, and they were so delicious. By the way, in Japan, we have something called asazuke, which are lightly pickled vegetables. I recently posted 8 different asazuke recipes and they were very popular. If you haven't seen it yet, please take a look at the link in the description section. Next up, we are making a yakisoba set. I have half a kabocha left from the croquette I made the other day, so I'm going to make a side dish with that. Since yakisoba doesn't have a lot of vegetable, I want to get some fiber and vitamin from this side dish. If you have a hard kabocha, it's easier to cut if you microwave it for 30 to 40 seconds first. Add all the ingredients for the simmered kabocha to the pan. Water, mirin, sake, soy sauce, sugar, and salt. Mix well, bring to a boil. Then reduce heat to low and add the kabocha. I don't have a lid for this pan, so I made one out of aluminum foil. Simmer for about 5 minutes. Flip the kabocha to coat both sides with the sauce. Simmer over low heat until most of the liquid is gone and the kabocha is completely soft. Next, let's make the yakisoba. When you think of yakisoba, you usually think of onion and cabbage. Some people also add carrots and bell peppers. This is a common thing in Japanese households. Moms often try to get their kids to eat more vegetables by adding tons of vegetables to their yakisoba. My mom used to do that too. But then the overall flavor becomes diluted and it's a bit bland. My husband doesn't like yakisoba with too many vegetables, so I always make sure not to add too much. This is frozen pork. It's still a bit hard. Pork is a classic choice for yakisoba. Ground pork is also delicious. Heat some oil in a fry pan and fry the onion. Once it's softened a bit, add the cabbage and fry it. Make some space in the pan, add a little more oil, and fry the pork. Season the meat lightly with salt and pepper. Since it's still a little frozen, I added some sake to help it thaw. Once the pork is almost cooked, add the noodles. These noodles are a bit hard, so add a little water and loosen them up. These noodles are specifically made for yakisoba. If you are using fresh noodles, boil them beforehand. Rinse them well with water and then add them to the pan. Once the noodles are well loosened, add the packaged sauce. Do you have these types of yakisoba noodles and sauce sets in your country? If not, you can make your own sauce. Try mixing these ingredients together. I think you'll find it's really delicious. Once the sauce is well mixed, it's done. This yakisoba kit is a lifesaver for moms all over Japan. It's really convenient and a lot of people use it for lunch too. The kabocha is pretty soft now, but there's still a little bit of liquid left, so let's simmer it for a bit more. The liquid has thickened and the kabocha is soft, so it's done. I bought this emerald green plate in Asakusa the other day. I really love it. I'm going to make a mini chilled tofu dish called hiyayakko. Top it with some tube ginger and a little bonito flakes and soy sauce, and it's done. It's the quickest and easiest side dish ever. Plate the yakisoba and garnish with red pickled ginger. I was going to put a fried egg on top of the yakisoba, but I forgot. I was in a hurry to make the fried egg and ended up breaking the yolk. I almost cried, but it actually turned out to look pretty good. Next up, we are making a Nikujaga meat and potato stew set. These are konjac noodles, which we'll add to the Nikujaga. I recommend boiling konjac in boiling water for about 2 minutes before using it in stew. This helps to reduce the unique smell of konjac and makes it taste better. Konjac is a great ingredient because it's almost 0 calories and packed with fiber. It's delicious in stewed and oden. Once you've boiled it, let it cool before cutting it. If you were to ask Japanese people what the king of Japanese stew is, many would probably say Nikujaga. It's the classic of Japanese home cooking, so if you haven't made it before, you definitely should try it once. Actually, we use the same ingredients as we do for curry, except for the konjac. We'll use onion, potato, carrot, and meat. You don't usually use chicken for Nikujaga, but it's actually really delicious that way too. By the way, whether you use pork or beef for Nikujaga seems to vary by region. In Eastern Japan, people tend to use pork, while in Western Japan, they tend to use beef. My husband and I were talking about this once, and he said, why not use both? It'll be the best. And I thought, that's a great idea. So today I'm going to use both. For curry, the meat doesn't have to be thinly sliced, but for Nikujaga, I recommend using thinly sliced meat. Let's fry the carrots and onion in a pot first. Lightly coat them in oil. Once the onion is slightly softened, add water. While that's simmering, let's cut the boiled konjac. Cut it into bite-sized pieces. Add the meat to the boiling water. It almost looks like we could add curry roux right now and have curry. If you see any scum, skim it off now. Once you've skimmed off the scum, add the konjac and potatoes. Add all the seasonings, sake, mirin, soy sauce, sugar, and dashi powder. Use a bit more soy sauce than the other seasonings. That's the key. If you watch a lot of Japanese cooking videos, you might think that the combination of seasoning is always the same, but it depends on the ingredients, and even slight differences in the proportion of the seasonings can create a completely different flavor. I really want you to try making Nikujaga with this recipe. That's because I found a perfect combination this time, and even my husband really praised it. You can find the exact measurement of the ingredients in the recipe link in the description. Once the potatoes are stuffed, it's done. I let it cool completely before eating. The flavors really seep in when it cools, and it tastes 10 times better. If you make it in the afternoon and let it cool completely before dinner, it's the best. You can even make it the day before. This is optional, but adding snow peas or green beans adds a nice touch and makes it look pretty. Remove the strings and add them to the pot. A minute or two before turning off the heat. After about an hour, it'll look like this, and the flavors will have really seeped in. Today I made the Nikujaga in advance, so I started by preparing the miso soup for dinner. Today's miso soup is super simple, just tofu and wakame. So once I cut the tofu, I'm almost done. Add water and tofu to a pot and bring to a boil. Add a dried wakame seaweed. My husband likes this super simple miso soup. He seems to prefer soups with fewer ingredients. I made one more side dish besides the nikujaga. It's a refreshing side dish made with eggplant and fried tofu. I'll grate this daikon radish. Daikon radish and eggplant go really well together. I'd normally make eggplant tempura and serve it with grated daikon radish. But to cut down oil, I'm making something different today. Let's mince the shiso leaves for topping. Thick fried tofu, atsudage, is packed with protein. It's surprising, but it contains 1.6 times more protein than tofu. Heat some sesame oil in a fry pan and fry the eggplant until it's soft. Eggplant absorbs oil quickly, so once the skin is slightly coated in oil, flip it over and coat the other side. If you fry eggplant slowly for a long time, it becomes incredibly juicy. Add the fried tofu and fry it lightly. Since the fried tofu is already cooked, just slightly brown the surface. I added a little more oil because the fried tofu was sticking. Once the eggplant is soft and mushy like this, it's done. This is a bit of a tough task at the end of the day. But let's grate the daikon radish. Finally, let's make the sauce. Mix soy sauce, rice vinegar, sesame oil, and sugar. Adjust the amount of sugar to your taste. I added a little salt and pepper to taste. Plate the nikujaga and garnish with snow peas. I boiled these separately to make them look colorful. Plate the eggplant and fried tofu. Then top it with the drained grated daikon radish. Add the sauce and shiso leaves. Don't forget the miso soup. Turn off the heat and dissolve the miso in the soup. Most miso doesn't contain dashi, so if you are using that kind, add dashi powder before adding the miso. I'm super satisfied with this nikujaga. It's the best nikujaga I've ever made. I've decided to always make nikujaga with these proportions from now on. Last but not least, we are making the most delicious classic curry. This is another very popular dinner menu in Japan. The basic way to make curry is the same for everyone, but each household has their own tips. Today I'm going to share some of my tips and add a secret spice at the end to make it extra delicious, so stay tuned. First, let's chop the onion. I want the onion to melt into the roux completely, so I cut it as small and thin as possible. I cut the carrots into small pieces too. Some people cut the ingredients quite large. And adding garlic is a key point. My husband came up with the idea of frying the meat with garlic when he was a kid, and he always asked his mom to do it. You can use chicken, beef, or pork, but I'm using healthy pork fillet. First, fry the carrots and onion in oil. You can add water and simmer right away, but frying them beforehand gives the curry a deeper flavor. Fry the onion until they are quite soft. Make some space in the pan and add a little more oil. Add the garlic. Add the meat and fry it together with the garlic. You can skip this part, but it's good to season the meat with a little salt and pepper. I also added a bit of ramen pepper. It's made from white pepper, black pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. I guess most people don't add garlic to curry, but it makes it so much tastier. I think my husband was really clever to come up with this idea when he was a kid. Once the meat changes color, add water and bring to a boil. Cook over medium or high heat until it boils. Then reduce heat to low and simmer for as long as possible. If you're short on time, 20 minutes is fine, but if you simmer it for 40 minutes to an hour, the onion will become very soft and melt into the roux, making it more delicious. The trick is to add the potatoes later. This way you won't overcook the potatoes and they won't fall apart. Japanese sausages called winna are often quite smoky, so adding them gives the curry a wonderful flavor. I'm only adding 2 to keep it healthy, but you can add more if you want. Adding sausages gives the curry much more depth of flavor. Add the potatoes and sausages and simmer for about 8 minutes. Once the potatoes are somewhat soft, add the roux and melt it. I'm using a roux called golden curry today. Mix it well, being careful not to break up the potatoes. What kind of roux do you use in your country? We used to use Java curry a lot, but recently we've been buying golden curry, which has less fat. Please let me know in the comments what kind of roux you usually use. Simmer for another 5 minutes after adding the roux. Once you've added the roux, stir it a few times while simmering to prevent the bottom of the pot from burning. Since I had plenty of time today, I simmered it for a long time before adding the potatoes, so the onion melted completely and the curry is really thick and delicious. This is fukujinzuke, a pickle that's essential for curry. I wanted to make it look a bit cute, so I added boiled okra, cherry tomatoes, and roasted kabocha as toppings. And finally, I added some 7-spice seasoning, shichimi or nanami togarashi that I bought in Asakusa. It's a traditional 7-spice seasoning, and the aroma is so much better than the one you buy at the supermarket. It made the curry even more flavorful and aromatic. Which dinner menu did you like? I'll be happy if everyone could try making this Japanese food. Thank you so much for watching our video. Please subscribe to our channel. If you are already a subscriber and would like to support our channel, please join our membership. Membership feedback will be reflected in content creation. See you in the next video.